Salutations, ladies and gentlemen. Today I am going to be talking about undervalued running backs and tight ends. These are guys that I think are not being given enough credit and could certainly help win your leagues based on where they're being drafted. Now, before we get into that, I would greatly appreciate, as always, a like and a subscribe. The support means a lot to me. I am trying to get to my first 500 subscribers, and you can join us on that journey by clicking that button down below. So without any further ado, let's hop into it. We're gonna start with Dalvin Cook, ADP 7. Running back 5 overall. Now, why I wanted to highlight Dalvin Cook, and if you watched my fade video, you will already know a little bit. Dalvin Cook is my RB3 on the season. That may sound crazy to some, but let me explain. Minnesota's offense, first and foremost, is going to be better this year now that they're out of the Mike Zimmer dark ages. I think Kevin O'Connell is going to help break that offense out pretty significantly. Minnesota's offensive line going to get better from last year. They've had time to mesh. We saw Christian Darrisaw start to pick it up towards the end of last year. Minnesota has an excellent passing attack, which means that not all the attention that should be is going to be able to be paid to Dalvin Cook. Now, concerns are that he's been injured in the past, and Minnesota may be much more pass heavy than they have been. What I would say to that is this: if they are more pass heavy, that is great. Dalvin Cook is one of the best pass catching backs in the entire NFL, especially in the screen game. And if they utilize him that way, that just means more big plays and touchdown opportunities. When it comes to the injury argument, it's granted to an extent. Cook's missed 7 games over the past 3 years. Not exactly something I would say is a red flag any longer, especially when we're looking at the other running backs who are going ahead of him, like Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey, which we're not even going to get into McCaffrey. If you want my take on him, check my fade video. He headlines it. So I just think that the risk for Dalvin Cook is not as great as those two guys that are going in front of him. And I think the upside for Dalvin Cook is RB1 overall. You can call me crazy. Dalvin Cook averaged 16 touchdowns in the 2 seasons before last year's regression. So he's a touchdown scoring machine. Minnesota's offense is going to be better as a whole, and they were already pretty darn good last year. I just don't understand why people don't see the upside here with Cook and the lack of risk relative to players like Derrick Henry and Run CMC. The next 2 guys that I'm going to talk about are both at the tight end position. Now, once again, I talked about it in my fade video a little bit, but I do not want one of those first 2 tight ends. They are just too expensive, and the way that my roster is constructed after taking them is not ideal. I want those elite wide receivers and running backs that dry up fast early in my drafts, but I still want the upside at tight end. And so Darren Waller at tight end 5 with an ADP of 46, and Dalton Schultz at tight end 6 with an ADP of 61, I believe are perfect targets for how I want to build my roster, and they still have a significant upside. Waller was tight end 3 just a couple years ago when he had under 120 targets. So those concerned about what Devontae Adams might pull away from him as far as target share, while it's warranted, we've seen Waller put up massive numbers even without that super target share. For Dalton Schultz, there is nobody else in Dallas outside of CeeDee Lamb who can catch passes from Dak Prescott right now. Okay, James Washington is gone. We do not know when Michael Gallup is coming back. So we have Jalen Tolbert, who's all of a sudden going to be the wide receiver 2. He might be, but Dalton Schultz is the number 2 passing option in a Dallas offense that is one of the most efficient in the NFL. It breeds fantasy points, and I want a piece of it. And if I can get Schultz at tight end 6 in the 6th or 7th round, I am going to pull the trigger on that every single time. He's got great touchdown upside in that offense. He has an ability to make a name for himself in the middle of the field as Dak Prescott's safety blanket, and they got to throw it to somebody, and I think Schultz is that guy. For Waller, Devontae Adams is going to help pull coverage away from him where he can utilize the middle of the field and really do damage to a defense. Now, I know there's that hamstring injury that's still occurring right now. There's a little bit of concern in that. It should be okay by the time that season starts. So we want to make sure we keep an eye on Waller's situation, that doesn't get worse. But if he is ready to go by week 1, I think that Darren Waller is a great pick at his current price. Next, we're going to go to running backs again, and it's Ramondre Stevenson, sliding just inside the top 100 as the 95th overall player, RB 36. Now, the thing that I love about Stevenson is that he has the tools that the Patriots are going to want to use this season. With James White gone and retired, Stevenson is that dude who's going to slide in and take that pass catching work. He showed it a little bit last year, and he's going to break out a little bit more this year. So we add that on top of, I just think he's a better running back than Damien Harris is. Stevenson was the 3rd ranked back on PFF. He is going to likely earn that goal line work as well. So if we have the goal line work, we have the passing game work. This is exactly what you want in a breakout running back. He has the ability to really get to double-digit touchdowns like Harris did last year. And at RB 36, there are not a lot of players going in that type of range who have the upside that Stevenson possesses. Patriots are going to want to run the ball. They have no passing game outside of maybe Hunter Henry. I'm not really worried about Jacoby Myers being a must-go-to guy, Damian Byrd. It is going to be a running attack here in New England, and when they do, Stevenson is the back who I believe gets the high-value touches and who breaks out a little bit this year. He could easily win you your league by breaking out in a run-heavy Patriots attack. He also out-touched Damien Harris over the team's final 7 games. So we have already seen that shift. I think it continues, and I think this is Stevenson's job as the RB1 there. Next guy that I want to look at is Damien Pierce. He's got an ADP of 121 as RB40. And the reason that I love Pierce is a lot of the reasons that all of this hype has been building throughout camp. He has the chance of getting the RB1 role as the main cog in Houston's rushing attack. And while that may not seem super valuable, any starting running back deserves a spot on our rosters. Pierce was not really a 3-down back in college, so we are projecting this a little bit. But he doesn't exactly have very high-level competition to worry about, and I think with the youth, he could easily take that role, average 15 to 17 touches a game, and that is something that I want a piece of because volume is king in fantasy. There's also really not much else in Houston's offense outside of Brandon Cooks and of course Nico Collins a little bit, but Pierce could be easily the second option in this offense that has value, and at RB40 you're getting him extremely cheap. So if he misses, you're not losing a whole lot, but if he hits, he can help turn your season. Kenneth Gainwell is next. I absolutely love this guy, and you can scoop him up extremely late. He's got an ADP of 155. He is RB49. We have seen the downfall of Miles Sanders continue to build. With those injuries, Gainwell could take this job outright. Now, Gainwell in limited work last year was very efficient, and the Eagles' offense is one that you want a piece of, especially in the running game, because their offensive line is one of the best in the entire league. There are going to be holes to be able to take advantage of, and if he gets that RB1 role, he is going to smash this ADP. Of course, his biggest calling card is catching passes, and in half-point PPR and PPR leagues, that is exactly what you are looking for. I also think that Philadelphia's offense is maybe slightly underrated. They're going to score a bit more than people are giving them credit for right now, and Kenneth is a really cheap way of getting a piece of that pie. And that is all that I have for you guys in the video today. Really hope you enjoyed the content. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, if you are looking for any particular content, drop that all down below. I do this for you guys. A like and a subscribe means so very much to me, helps me out a ton, and I cannot thank my current subscribers enough for all the support that I've received thus far. You guys are the best, and I greatly appreciate you. This is Relentless Press. I am your host, Abraham Opaz, and we will see you next time.